Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Public Service Commission of South Carolina's hearing in docket number 2014-346 WS. This is a settlement hearing. Before we get started, let's take a brief moment of silence. All right, thank you very much. Let's take roll to see who's with us. So present here in the hearing room are Commissioner Caston and Chairman Williams. Joining us virtually are Commissioners Williams, Powers, Thomas, and Urban. Commissioner or Vice Chair Belzer is recused from this matter. Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Williams, did you have a matter you would like to address?
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman Williams. This is out of an abundance of caution, and because I offered to recuse myself at the previous case, I understand that I need to make that offer again. And it is related to a relationship with Mr. Gressett's partner and friendship that existed over 25 years ago that is still cordial. It offers me no concerns for my impartiality on this case, that I'll be fair and just, but it's my understanding that I should make identify the potential conflict and make the offer.
All right, does anyone have any objection to Commissioner Williams hearing this matter?
No, sir.
No objection.
No objection, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much for that. If you would please identify yourself before you make a statement regarding your position.
ORS has no objection, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. What about the applicant?
The applicant has no objection.
All right. Interveners.
Mr. Chairman, Jack Pringle for the interveners. The interveners do not have any objection.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any other preliminary matters?
Mr. Chairman, yes, this is Jeff Nelson for ORS, and I do have some preliminary matters before we get started today, if it pleases you.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. I am pleased to announce that Daufuskie Island Utility Company, Inc., the active POAs in this case, and ORS have reached a settlement. The agreement was filed with the Commission last Thursday. ORS believes that the settlement agreement represents a fair, reasonable, and full resolution of most of the issues of the parties in this proceeding. In the context of a settlement such as this, the agreed upon rates are just and reasonable and will allow the company the opportunity to earn a reasonable return on the basis of its 2014 application, all while helping to ensure the continuation of reliable, high-quality service to its customers. Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would ask the settlement agreement be marked for identification and entered in the record as the first hearing exhibit.
The settlement agreement will be marked and entered into the record as hearing exhibit 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One other matter is regarding the ORS witness, Ms. Dawn Hipp. Her pre-filed verified settlement testimony was filed with the Commission last Friday pursuant to Commission Order number 2021-20-H. Accordingly, if it pleases the Commission, ORS would request that the settlement testimony of Ms. Hipp be entered in the record as if given orally from the stand.
Ms. Hipp's settlement testimony will be entered into the record as if given orally from the stand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Hipp is present and will be available for questions on the substance of the settlement agreement should the Commission wish to call her. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Are there any more preliminary matters?
Mr. Commissioner, this is Tom Gressett on behalf of the applicant. If I might, I would also indicate that the applicant has pre-filed settlement testimony on behalf of its witness, John F. Guastella, and would ask that it be marked as hearing exhibit 3. And admitted as if read into the record. Mr. Guastella is also present via WebEx, should the commission have any questions.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Guastella's testimony will be entered into the record as if given orally from the stand.
Thank you, sir.
Right. General Counsel Hill, anything before we call the first witness?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As mentioned before, this virtual hearing was previously scheduled for tomorrow, but however, it was rescheduled today at 11 a.m. At the request of the intervener POAs and with the advice and with the consent and agreement of the other parties. Mr. Chairman, the docket number 2014-346 WS in the matter of Daufuskie Island Utility is in order.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to ask the applicant to call Mr. Guastella to the stand.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. At this time, the applicant would ask Mr. Guastella to please take the stand to be sworn and provide testimony.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Guastella, would you please take the stand and be sworn in by our court reporter?
Yes.
Just one moment, Mr. Guastella. There we go. Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Guastella, could you please state your name for the record, please?
John F. Guastella.
And what is your occupation, Mr. Guastella?
I'm a utility consultant.
And are you involved in work for the applicant, in this case, Daufuskie Island Utility Company, Inc.?
Yes, I prepared its rate filing in this case.
And have you participated in the rate proceeding previously identified as docket number 2014-346-WS?
Yes.
Have you provided testimony in that proceeding prior to today?
Yes.
And earlier in the record, did you hear me discuss your pre-filed settlement testimony?
Yes.
Are you familiar with what I am identifying as your settlement testimony, which has been marked as hearing exhibit 3?
I am.
And have you provided a verification for that testimony indicating that you understand it has been filed for the purpose of supporting this settlement and affirming the matters included are based upon your personal knowledge and based upon your personal knowledge true and accurate?
Yes.
If you would, for the commission, could you briefly summarize the major points of the settlement agreement?
Yes. The settlement agreement addresses primarily the rate case expenses. It also addresses a delay in addressing the utility plant and service, approximately $699,000, and also a subsequent position regarding reparations that would be presented after the commission's decision regarding the settlement. The settlement, the case has been going on for nearly 6 years, and the settlement is in the best interest of the customers at this point.
Okay. Mr. Guastella, did you also have the opportunity to review a document that has been filed in this case captioned as proposed consent order?
Yes.
And is it my understanding that the applicant supports entry of that consent order as filed?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Please answer any questions the commissioners may have for you.
Before we go to commissioner questions, do any of the parties have questions? Nope. All right. Commissioners, questions from Mr. Guastella.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Thomas.
Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Costello. I just have one question. I see that there is a good bit of information that is defining which rate case expenses have been agreed upon. And it just seems to me that the history was that there was disagreement on that issue, and there was disagreement as to what made up those particular numbers. And also that there are more expenses out there to be dealt with in the future. I just want to make sure that all of the parties are in complete 100% agreement as to what makes up the amount that has been agreed to and the amount that is left out there to be dealt with in the future. Do you believe that there is 100% agreement as to what is covered now and what is left to be taken care of in the future?
Yes, the amounts that are included in this settlement, we're all in agreement on, and the amounts for the future have not yet to be determined because the case is still going on, so there may be more expenses, but the only amounts included in this are those which the parties have agreed to.
Okay, so there's no washover or wishy-washiness between what we are agreeing to at this point in time. I know there can be more in the future, but we know where we stand today and what makes up those numbers. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. That's all I had.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Any other commissioner questions for Mr. Costello?
Chair Williams.
Commissioner Caston.
Good morning, Mr. Costello.
Good morning.
Have the customers been notified of the results of this stipulation agreement?
The customers were notified as to the rates that are now being proposed. That notice went out in August of last year. The company will also, depending on the commission's decision, if the commission accepts the settlement agreement, the company will send out a separate notice to the customers, informing them of the decision and also informing them of the potential future request for reparations.
Thank you. And I also understand that the company plans to implement, if approved, the rates for service on March 1st, 2021. Will the customers be notified of this change before the change goes into effect? I know that's not much time, but.
Yes, sir. If the commission's decision is issued, we will soon thereafter, before the April 1 billing. The April 1 billing is the first time that these rates would be charged, and the April 1 billing, in accordance with the settlement, would be notified to the customers of the rates, existing rates continuing for the first 2 months of this quarter and the new rates for the last month of the quarter.
Okay, because it's a quarterly billing, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Caston. Any more questions for this witness by commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Powers.
No, thank you. Mr. Costello, sending out a separate notice, will that be a cost to the ratepayers? And do you know how much that would be?
It would be a cost, yes, for the future, not as part of the settlement. And it would be relatively minor.
So the notice couldn't be sent with the March, well, there is no March bill, so you'd have to send it separately, would you not?
Yes, we're going to send a separate mailing to the customers prior to the April 1 billing.
Okay, you say it's a nominal cost. What's nominal?
Probably just for postage, because Costello Associates also manages the utility, and we have a program for sending out bills, so it'd probably be less than $500.
Okay, that's reasonable. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Powers. Any more questions for this witness?
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Irvin.
Commissioner Irvin, the floor is yours, sir.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Costello, who's been representing you in these proceedings?
Daufuskie Island Utilities has been represented by Mr. Gressett and his firm.
And he's here on the virtual hearing today, so I'm going to ask you in his presence if you had an opportunity to discuss all the terms and conditions of this proposed settlement agreement with your attorney.
Yes, sir, in detail.
Are you satisfied with his services as your attorney in this matter?
Absolutely.
Are there any terms and conditions that you need further clarification on before we proceed with the hearing today?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Chairman, those are all the questions I have for this witness.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions for Mr. Costello? All right, sir. You can step down from the witness stand.
Thank you.
My understanding is that the interveners do not have any witnesses. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, Jack Pringle for the interveners. That is correct. The interveners do not have any witnesses today.
Okay. Well, we're going to go to ORS and ask that they present witness Hip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. ORS presents Ms. Dawn Hip as its witness.
All right. Mr. Nelson, do you have any questions, or would you like to turn it over to the commissioners?
I'd like to allow Ms. Hip to have a brief summarization of her settlement testimony, if that's acceptable, Commissioner.
Certainly acceptable. Please proceed, Ms. Well, wait to be sworn and proceed, Ms. Hip.
Ms. Hip, if you would raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Hip, can you please state your full name and occupation for the commission?
Certainly. Good morning, commissioners and chairman. My name is Dawn Hip, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer with the Office of Regulatory Staff.
Ms. Hip, in an effort to assist the commission, could you please briefly summarize your settlement testimony?
Certainly. My settlement testimony briefly explains and provides a support for the settlement agreement reached among Daufuskie Island Utilities and the various property owners associations and ORS. In brief, the parties agreed to recovery of $542,978 for Guastella and Associates rate case expenses incurred by Daufuskie Island Utilities through September 30th, 2017. An additional supplemental legal rate case expenses of $95,430, with both amounts to be amortized over a 3-year period. Daufuskie agreed to delay seeking recovery of the corresponding $699,361 until its next rate filing. And the parties agreed to reserve their positions as to the $699,361 reduction to utility plant and service for consideration in Daufusky's next rate case. And finally, the parties have agreed to a procedure whereby after the commission's decision regarding the proposed settlement, the parties can brief the issue of Daufusky's request for reparations to the commission and for its further determination in this case. Finally, commissioners, the parties have worked together in good faith to reach this settlement. The settlement is beneficial to Daufuskie and its customers in that it largely brings this matter to an end without delay and the uncertainty of further proceedings. In turn, this permits Daufuskie to focus on providing its customers reliable and high-quality service, which is consistent with the public interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Hip is available for questions from the commissioners.
All right. Before we go to commissioner questions, do any of the parties have questions for Ms. Hip?
This is Tom Gressett for the applicant. No, sir.
And This is Jack Pringle for the interveners. Mr. Chairman, no questions for Ms. Hip.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Commissioner questions for Ms. Hip?
Chairman Williams,
Commissioner Caston?
just, good morning, Ms. Hill.
Good morning.
In the settlement, paragraph 8C outlines the deadlines for written submissions in the proposed reparation proceeding. Do the submission windows for Daufuskie, ORS, and interveners, does it give all parties enough time for notice and preparation for all parties expected in the proceeding?
Commissioner, I believe it does, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner questions for Ms. Hip? All right, there appears to be no more commissioner questions for Ms. Hip.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. This is Commissioner Irvin. I do have follow-up questions for Ms. Hill.
Okay, Commissioner Irvin, the floor is yours.
Thanks, sir. What is the understanding about DIUC's ability to charge its customers interest on any alleged lost revenues because of the rate-making situation? What's the understanding of the parties?
Commissioner Irvin, the understanding of the parties is that that issue would be briefed subsequent to the Commission's approval of the current settlement agreement, which we're presenting today for your consideration.
All right. So that has not been, that particular interest question has not being settled today.
That is correct.
It'll be submitted to us at a later date.
That is my understanding. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Have you seen the notice that's going to go out to customers? You've been provided with the draft of that.
I have not.
I would like for you to see it before it goes out. Would the other attorneys that are handling that, Mr. Gressett, would you be willing to provide that to ORS prior to it's being sent to the customers for their review and approval?
This is Tom Gressett for the applicant. Yes, sir. The parties have actually envisioned a draft being prepared and submitted to ORS for their review and approval. Should there be any difficulty in reaching an agreement as to form, we would ask the Commission's assistance, but I don't anticipate any.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Hip, once you've had the opportunity to review the draft notification, would you advise the Public Service Commission in writing would show copy to all parties that you've had a chance to review it and that you have approved it as submitted?
We will be glad to do so.
Thank you. Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Irvin. Any more questions for Ms. Hip? All right, Ms. Hip, you may step down from the witness stand. Anything else from ORS?
Nothing further from ORS, Mr. Chairman.
Anything else from any of the parties?
Mr. Chairman, Jack Pringle for the interveners. Although I don't have a witness, certainly available to answer any questions that the commissioners. I'm not willing to go under cross-examination from the other parties necessarily without some ground rules, but if there's some questions from the commissioners from the interveners' perspectives, I'd be happy to field those.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Irvin. I do have some questions for Mr. Pringle, please.
Yes, sir. Please proceed.
Mr. Pringle, you've had an opportunity to go over the details and the terms of this settlement agreement with your clients. Is that correct?
That is.
And who has the authority on behalf of the property owners associations to settle this matter?
They are designated representatives.
All right. Are they known to the other parties?
I'm not sure whether they are or not.
Well, they're known to you, and I assume you've gone over in great detail with them all the terms and conditions of the proposed settlement.
Yeah, and yes, Commissioner, and they understand in part because of the history of this case and the issues that have been raised before. And so the answer is yes.
All right, sir. And have you had them sign off on the settlement? Have they actually read it and understood it and approved it?
Mr. Chairman, I executed the settlement agreement on behalf of the companies, but those organizations and their designated representatives understand the terms.
Thank you, sir. That's all the questions I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any more questions for Mr. Pringle? All right, hearing none. And so with Mr. Pringle being the last party to receive questions, I don't think there's anything left for the commission to consider.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman.
I'm
my
sorry.
understanding that, go ahead.
Yes, I heard Commissioner Irvin, then I heard Commissioner Thomas.
Understanding that time is of the essence, and rather than delay the matter any further, I'm prepared to make a motion if the appropriate time.
There's no time like the present. Please proceed with your motion.
Did my fellow commissioner have a question before I proceed?
Commissioner Thomas?
No, I did not.
All right.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Chairman, after hearing the testimony and representations of the parties and their respective attorneys, and also after hearing the sworn testimony of ORS representative Ms. Hip, and examining them concerning the settlement in this matter, I move that the commission formally approve the settlement agreement as outlined on the record between and among the company, the three Daufuskie Island property owners associations, and the Office of Regulatory Staff. Additionally, I move that the commission grant the request for Daufuskie Island Utility Company Incorporated to implement the 2021 rates for services beginning March 1, 2021, and that the company may include the same in its April 1, 2021 quarterly billing. I further, as part of the motion, would require that prior to sending out the notice to customers, that ORS be given an opportunity to review the notice and approve it, and then notify us in writing that it has been approved, show copy to all parties prior to submission to the customers. So moved.
Hearing Commissioner Irvin's motion, is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Irvin.
I'd like to ask the attorneys, has my motion properly captured the settlement agreement as you understand it, Mr. Gressett?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Pringle, do you agree?
I agree. Jack Pringle agrees, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson, on behalf of ORS, do you agree?
Yes, Commissioner Irvin, we agree.
All right. And Mr. Costello, do you agree?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. I believe we're ready for a vote, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like to call the roll.
Absolutely. So hearing Commissioner Irvin's motion, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a roll call vote, starting with District 1, Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Caston.
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin.
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas.
Thomas votes aye.
Commissioner Powers.
Powers votes aye.
And Chairman Williams votes aye. The ayes have it. The motion carries. All right, ladies.
Would someone like to prepare a formal written order? Has someone already drafted a formal written order approving settlement?
It has been, from my understanding, Commissioner Irvin, that has been drafted.
All right.
A proposed order has been drafted.
All right. Has it been submitted to the PSC?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you.
We'll make sure that gets circulated. All right. If there's nothing else, this matter's adjourned.
Nothing more for the applicant. Thank you, commissioners, and to the parties on behalf of the utility. We appreciate the patience and cooperation that has gotten us to this settlement agreement and look forward to quickly resolving the remaining issues. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate everyone's professionalism. Have a good day.